Hi gang, welcome back to the Honorest Latina Ever. Today, this topic is going to be what Fox News is addressing with the border. One of the things that I was really prideful on and what I just worked my whole life for is immigration reform. When I got involved in activism, I did it because I had a passion for this country and also because I grew up near the Southern California border. I attended Chula Vista High School, which is as close to the border as you can possibly get. It's like, you know, right there, like in Escondido, like is farther away. Chula Vista is right there on the border. And I grew up with the gangs and the crime and all that other stuff. And my dad, you know, was military, so he transferred us into the Navy housing. We were on a waiting list, so then I attended Coronado, and I went from being an A student to like an F student because of the fact that the border school wasn't equal to the school with all white people. And we're not going to get it equal because you have kids of immigrants that are coming here illegally. They're not learning English, people, and also they don't really give a fuck. You know, they don't. The kids don't give a fuck, the parents don't give a fuck, and all they do is bring their kids over, and the first thing that these kids do is bring the drugs. They run the drugs up, and they get in these little gangs, and they go around like little cholos, and they're badasses. And I was in middle school when I came into contact with the first gang, and I couldn't get past a walkway. And they grabbed hold of me, groping me, and throwing me around, and I was about 12 years old, and they were about 5 feet tall, and thank God, you know, I had my growth spurt, and I was taller than them, you know, and I'm like, look, you know, like, I don't need your freaking protection, and I'm not going to pay a toll, and, you know, move the fuck out of my way. And so anyway, I got past these guys, but every day they would be up at that freaking staircase. And this Henri Barriqua is like, I don't really want to like encounter them. So, you know, I thank God I didn't bring home homework or books or anything like that because I didn't really give a fuck. And so I just, that day in the hot California sun, I just started running. And I ended up going out for the track team. And I think the reason why the Puerto Rican girls and the Hispanic girls run fast is because they're trying to escape the little Latino men that are coming after them. Anyway, these guys like dressed in their little Vatos shirts, and they just thought they were so badass. And these are the same guys that threatened to rape me when I was on Oregonians for Immigration Reform because I was reforming policy. These are the guys that, you know, called the governor's office and said they were going to do something about the Henri Latina. Well, you know, okay, but this is the Lord's Day, and I should throw those fingers down because you know what? We're going to build that fence. It may not stop these badasses from coming over because they can get under the fence, over the fence, you know, through the fence, you know, whatever. They're going to figure a way. I think Trump, you know, idealistically wants to put a fence there thinking that this is going to give us some security, but really these people are going to find a way in. So what we need to do is reform the laws, and we need to make the Bendejo law, you know, for sanctuary cities, and we'll call it the Bendejo Puto law, you know, where we stop and block all funding to these liberal places that want to allow criminal illegal aliens to come into their areas and protect them. You're going to protect criminals, well, we're going to cut off all federal funding to your states. And when they do that, they're going to find that people in that area aren't going to be very happy. And eventually, they're going to all want to move away from that area because guess what? There's going to be no money, no jobs, no nothing. So what's going to happen is that they're just going to be stuck with their little criminals, you know. So you either can comply with the law and do what we say, or, you know, get the Bendejo tax, you know, or whatever, the Bendejo fine, the stupid idiot fine. But, you know, the liberal ideology and the thinking behind this party is like, if you're Hispanic, you must vote for a Democrat. Okay. I'm Hispanic, and my mom came from Puerto Rico, and none of us vote Democrat except for my stupid Uncle Joey, and he's a bendejo himself. I'm sorry, Uncle Joey, I love you, but he's a union worker, and he was a union worker forever and ever and ever, and he thinks there's nothing wrong with illegal aliens coming into this country, but, you know, until one of them takes his union jobs, you know. But anyway, he speaks Spanish too, and so anyway, he is who he is, okay? That's all I'm going to say about Uncle Joey. Love him dearly, but I disagree strongly with his policies and his ideas. Anyway, and he thinks I'm whacked, and I think he's whacked, and that's okay. You know, we can agree to disagree, you know. So anyway, long story short, grew up in California, and the reason I'm giving this talk is that I lived near that border. I lived it. And I saw the difference between Chula Vista and Coronado. It's a huge difference, even though they're just like maybe 15 to 20 minutes apart, you know, as school districts, okay? So I saw a big difference there. I also saw a big difference, you know, before we had all the illegal aliens and then after. And because they come right up the coast, the I-5 corridor. And then we cut all our state troopers. You know, the governor cut them out of the budget. And then we gave more services to the illegal immigrants. And then we gave free health care to poor white people. But eventually it became poor Latino people. And so eventually, you know, what you're doing is you're creating more of a want for these people to come here because you're giving boundless benefits. But it didn't happen because of a Democratic governor. It happened because of George W. Bush, because the federal requirement for us getting our federal money is that a certain ratio or percentage had to be Latino. And people just took that and ran with it. And so the forms would say on the health care application, are you Latino? Are you a migrant worker? Are you pregnant? And boom, you know, you were in. I mean, you know, you could get anything you want. You could get any kind of drugs you want for your husband. He didn't even have to come in for the appointment, and it was just really crazy. You didn't even have to speak English. And there was open doors and accommodation and federal money that did that. But also, what else it did was it promoted certain demographics of people to have children illegally so, and in abundancely, and then they go to school even though they were born here in America. Instead of learning English because they heard nothing but Spanish for the first 4 or 5 years of their life, they had to like be brought along with our kids at the same rate of learning that our kids are. And then if we didn't comply with that under George W. Bush, we were penalized federally. So you're penalizing the teachers' unions. You're making them mad because, you know what, honestly, everybody thinks, oh, the teachers' unions are all Democrats. Well, there's a lot of conservative teachers out there. There really are. And they're in the rural areas. And we neglected those teachers because a lot of them didn't want to go along with the accommodations of No Child Left Behind because they said, well, why do I have to get an interpreter to speak to this Hispanic mother if these people are supposed to be Americans, okay? And when you come to America, you learn English. So we're making a whole, like, lots of accommodations. Now we're printing by the federal government all this stuff off in Spanish. So what incentive is it for them to become citizens and to learn English? But the real clincher, because I'm a military brat, and I am a brat, George W. Bush, because I'm never going to let you forget this one. This little Hispanic boy goes to our education system from K to 12, right? And so we're like finding out what the kids are doing when they get out of high school. Well, Arturo was going to join the Mexican military. I thought, well, how in the hell can he do that? And somebody looked over at me and said, dual citizenship. And I'm like, well, God bless it. You know, I said, here he spends all this time learning our education system and gets a good American education. And he goes back to Mexico to make that place great. But you know what? What if Mexico decided to be in cahoots with Russia? They're going to have a bunch of educated people in their military that know like Spanish and English, and they're right next to us. Oh, that's just peachy. Okay, you see the way my brain thinks? So I'm sitting here thinking, well, oh, they can even join our military. If they're dual citizenship, they can join our military, learn our secrets, and then turn around and join the Mexican military and become a turncoat. So if they're not a citizen, if they're that dual citizen thing. So I'm thinking to myself, like this is really fucked up, you know, like that they can go back to that country because they are Mexican heritage. They can bounce between two places if their parents were from there. So I'm thinking, okay, so when we do the United States, you know, if we're like pledging the allegiance to the flag in the classrooms and the flag is not there, they're pledging allegiance to what flag? I mean, if they're dual citizenship, you know, you might as well just have the Mexican flag in there too as well. And so part of becoming a citizen of this country is leaving everything else behind and really assimilating. And so as long as we are promoting this culture, we're absolutely devaluing the American way of life. We are. Because what happens is we're making a special accommodation for this one group of people. And we don't do that for anybody else in this country. And I think it's wrong. And I didn't have somebody say to me, Dee, oh, you came from Puerto Rico. You need to speak Spanish and English, and we're gonna help you with that all the way through high school. And then when you get out of high school, because there's such a demand for that, we are going to give you a job with the state because we have a certain amount of minority quotas and you have to know Spanish. Well, they're only doing that for the Spanish people. So that's not fair. So everybody should learn a language regardless. And if you're putting X amount of money in dollars and using it out of the special education money into No Child Left Behind to bring along these Hispanic kids, and they're coming over here like in the, you know, I mean, how many kids? What is the percentage exactly? When under George Bush Sr., he wanted everything to be fair. George Bush Jr. wanted everything to be fair. Barack Obama, everything has to be fair. And everything being fair, it made it very unfair. So I think that it's a real scam. I think it's horrible to penalize teachers for something that the parents need to take responsibility and accountability for. I think that we've gotten away from disciplining these kids. We had little gang members popping off to principals going, I don't have to follow your rules. Well, you know, why would they follow our rules, George W. Bush, if the parents don't have to follow our rules? So if you make a rule and somebody breaks the rule and the kid sees their parents breaking the rules, and then they're in the schools and they're selling drugs to our kids and they're breaking the rules, I mean, what is the whole, what are we teaching these children? It's sending a really lousy message to these kids. Not to mention that we're saying, oh, we must feel empathy and pity for these people because they're very poor and they're picking the fruit. Well, let me tell you, the majority of these people are doing crimes and they're not picking the fruit, okay? We have the good ones that are picking the fruit, and those people are going back and forth, you know? And maybe they might have kids here, maybe not, you know, or they're sending their monies back to their families. But for the real thing is when I pushed legislation for real ID, one of the things that we did was we made sure that when we gave a driver's license that that person was a citizen of the United States. And what the Democrats did was they gave these temporary licenses to these illegal aliens even after we passed that thing. And it was the same license that the American citizens get. Well, how are we going to distinguish the illegals from the legals? Well, what you do is you put a background that's different. It's very, very simple. You just put a blue background, letting them know that they are a status, that they're only here temporary. So those temporary license, if you're not a citizen, should have a blue or different color from everybody else. So everybody knows that that's that ID. No more people registering online for the very first time. Okay, maybe if you're already registered, you can do that, but really, first-time voters should come in person and bring all their stuff. And they need to speak English. I'm sorry, but no more printing the ballots in Spanish. That is a dead giveaway that person is voting illegally so if they don't know English, because they have to take a test to come to America to read that test. In order to read that test, they have to know certain pertinent information, and they have to have literacy. And if they don't have the literacy enough to figure out what they're voting for or how to read and write, then they have no business voting. So, oh, that's being discriminatory. Do we print the ballots in French and German and Middle Eastern or whatever they speak or any other language? No, we don't. And if we did that, it would cost us a lot of money and a lot of votes, and we wouldn't even have a freaking country left. So, you know what, Mr. Trump, you got to get rid of the whole printing everything off in Spanish. And we need to make English as the official language. We need to make sure that we are not giving services to illegal aliens, and we're cutting all federal funding, not just off of California and San Francisco, but any state that harbors sanctuary cities and protects illegal immigrants. And with that said, I said a mouthful, and as I always do, and I support Trump, as though the budget was bloated and it was god-awful. It wasn't his fault. I deleted any posts that said anything negative about our president. I support him, and the problem that we're having with our party is these little fucking, I don't know, dickhead Republicans who can sit there and do nothing but criticize and you know, and absolutely nothing to help the problem. And basically what we need to do is fund our military. We need to, you know, fund the borders, get rid of the open borders, fund it, fund that fence. The fence isn't going to help too much because the bad guys are going to still find a way over and under. But we also need to not release them either. We need to, you know what? As we want to talk about outsourcing, why don't we outsource the prisons, build them in Mexico, do it for a lot less, and then this way we can feed them shit on a shingle, and they can really serve hard time. Make a big wired work camp, and you know where we were doing factory workers for the poor little girls coming off the native lands and stuff like that and exploiting them. Why don't we build a work camp for the criminals so these fucking Vatuses have something to do? They can like manufacture shit and do some real good stuff and learn some trades, you know, and we can have our free workers, and then they can pay off their debts to society. I think that's a damn good idea, don't you think? I think Sheriff Joe wanted to do that and people shot him down, but you know what? You know, I think that the reason why our Republican Party has failed so miserably is because they've all become pussified. You know, this country is run by a bunch of pussies. They're just like little flaming, little tippy-toe guys that are just afraid to do anything, you know, with the little bow ties and everything else. These men don't even know how to work. They don't know how to fight. And they've grown up with a silver spoon in their mouth and everything's so perfect. And you know what? I'm sorry, but you're not going to reform these criminals by being nicey nice with them. You reform criminals by making them work for their whatever. And you know what? We should have like what Chain Gang Charlie did. Hey, Charlie was a Democrat. Charlie Crist. Love this guy. He was so funny. He put the bad guys to work. He didn't like pay a bunch of union guys $10 or $20 an hour to pick up trash on the side of the roads. He had the freaking inmates doing it. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And his nickname was Chain Gang Charlie. I love it. You know what? Make use out of these lazy ass guys that they think that they can go to prison and sit back and pump iron and play games and watch TV and sell drugs and be bad. You know, make them 8 hours a day in the hot Florida sun, pick up trash. I guarantee you that once they do that, that maybe they'll think twice about getting themselves in trouble. Maybe they might even like working. Did you ever like think about that, you guys? But with that said, I have just a few ideas, and the thing about it is that we have to do something about the border. It has gotten so bad that I hate California now. I have to go visit my dad, and I just really hate driving there. It's like driving in Mexico. There's like no middle line. There's no like you know how they divide the highways and you have the lines and everything. When you go through LA, the roads look like you're fucking going through Mexico. It's like all of a sudden the highway is beautiful and nice, and then you hit LA, and it's just like, oh my god, you feel like you're in fucking Mexico. I kid you not. There's like big divots in the roads and stuff like that, and the traffic goes to the crawl. It's a good thing it's crowded because we'd end up like ruining our tires and stuff like that because we'd be driving along at 55 miles an hour and there'd be like a big pothole in the middle of the highway. That's just how it is. But you know, actually the roads in Mexico are probably better than the roads in fucking LA. Oh, that's what you know Hollywood like should have like welcome to Hollywood, and then like two middle fingers going like this. That would be really perfect. And by the way, I love you Hollywood people, not. They're so stupid. It's just like they don't even realize like their roads are the shittiest roads in the country. At least when I drove through there, and that wasn't too long ago. You guys have a blessed Sunday. God bless. I have to get going, but you have a great day.